I would like to see one really high building in the centre of Croydon. And the architect said to me, well, how high? And for the want of something better to say, I just said, well, twice the height of Norfolk House. 23 stories was the block that they put up, which is now the Nestle building. I heard it said of me once at a meeting, had I been to New York? Was that the reason for this? Well, I've never been to New York. But it wasn't the reason for it. I think that Croydon had either got to deteriorate or go forward. And we went forward.
I spent 1 year in Croydon back in 1968 when I was an art student there. And I remember it as a place that was like a mini New York. Having not been to New York before, it had an image of New York because I would always travel down on that railway line that ended at East Croydon Station. And as the train rolled into the station, all these huge skyscrapers loomed up. And it seemed sort of very, very modern. That was the feeling, and I liked it for that.
We'll have Manhattan, the Bronx and Staten Island too. It's lovely going through the zoo.
Cities like New York, on the better parts of those cities, in the centres, so on, they have a very good public domain, even though they've got tall buildings, because all the ground is given over to shopping, to those public activities, and it's continuous. So you look down these streets, and you see shop after shop, and it doesn't worry that there's tall buildings. In England, we've always been rather running scared of that. When we have a tall building, we think, oh my God, we've put a tall building, we could have lots of space around it. Actually, it breaks the continuity of the street. The street facade is no longer continuous, and you have lots of pockets of space. That space soon becomes dreadful.
Moscow is like this. It's got grim buildings, poor space for people at ground level. So there's an analogy here. But Dallas has the similar buildings. What's the difference? The difference is that the buildings are elegantly finished. The ground level space is well organized for people, with fountains, with sitting areas, with ice rinks. And so Dallas, in a way, is Moscow, what Moscow should be, and what Croydon should be.
There's a very good precedent for what to do with the 60s architecture of Croydon, and it happened in Glasgow a few weeks ago, which were controlled explosions for the demolition of concrete tower blocks. That's the only answer. There's no point in dressing them up and pretending they're not there. They have to be destroyed.
We need a shift. It doesn't mean a demolition. In fact, I'm rather pro leaving most of those towers where they are. I don't think they're as bad as many people think they are.
In a way, it's this project is a unique opportunity because, in a way, you've got a background visual structure that is mundane, and any intervention that you make will actually stand out.
We created a spire, a 150-metre steel spire, which has wind turbines on it, wind generators, so that when the wind blows, these sort of practically like propellers move around, create electrical charges, which then go to lighting up either buildings nearby or information screens and so on. So it is, in fact, very important towards the ecology of today. At the same time, it's a very fine and very refined statement, using the lightest, the least amount of material to do the most, and which will be seen from, will be the tallest building there. And of course, on the skyline, it will look like a modern spire.
On the right there, Luna House. That's the passport and immigration control. And a lot of people like to go there.
When we were first approached on this problem, Croydon's problem, I asked the people in our office, what does Croydon mean? And an extraordinary number in the office had all been to Croydon once, sometimes twice, but for the very same reason. And that was to visit Luna House, either to get a work permit or a residence permit or something similar.
Ah, vous devez aller au contrôle des habitants.
Non, qu'est-ce que c'est?
Our first response was, in fact, take down Luna House, take the area adjacent to Croydon East Station, which is a large area, create a lake, which is a way of taming the rainwater so that it's an amenity rather than an embarrassment. Slot underneath the lake some 250,000 square feet of Luna House. This suggested the idea that people could arrive from East Croydon Station, take a boat, and actually have a most extraordinary paradise of a wait to get themselves registered or deregistered or whatever they do at Luna House. People may ask the question, well, can you put buildings underwater? Well, all buildings are actually underwater. I mean, there's a sky up there that's full of water. And so the problems actually are not about waterproofness, but they're actually about what sort of environment the people working in Luna House will have.
C'est drogué ou quoi?
Non, c'est normal, monsieur.
Toutes les choses étranges sont normales dans cette putain de ville.
This is the Whitgift Centre on the left. I wouldn't say it's one of the first, but it's been here a long time. They've just revamped the interior. It looks quite nice.
Situated between North End and Wellesley Road was the Trinity School of John Whitgift. And as this was a very valuable commercial site, the Whitgift governors agreed to sell that site. And on the site that was bought from the Whitgift governors was created the Whitgift Centre. It consisted again of 2 levels of shops, with an escalator going from one level to the other. And also in the middle of it was a building of 20 or even more stories high. It was the showpiece in the centre of the town.
As you come out of London, through Battersea Park, and even through the inner suburbs, there's an impression of green and well-being. But as soon as you arrive at Croydon, the first impression you get is of the scrap metal, the car dumps, and rather dreary-looking buildings beyond. The first thing I would do is to put all these cars here underground, have an underground car park. Then on top of that, I would use this space to make a new park. Croydon's short of parks. And this represents an ideal opportunity. I certainly wouldn't build any more buildings on it. It seems to me that Croydon's got quite enough buildings. What's needed is some public open space. Then the next idea would be to connect the station through to the Whitgift Centre. The reason you'd make it an elevated walkway is because the station platforms are at high level, the Whitgift Centre is at high level, and Wellesley Road has to be crossed, and that's a busy street. And you could then put travellators on it, which would speed up the travel time between the station and the Whitgift Centre.
What that does is it pulls the city together as a pedestrian entity. And it makes it so that you don't have to go to the car park every time you want to get from A to B. These snaky pedestrian walks. Again, of course, they can become nightmare pedestrian areas that no one uses.
All you can do is to make things bright, well lit, activity along it. You put shops. You put escalators at frequent intervals so you can get up and down quickly. You can't solve social problems with architecture. You can just adjust cities a little.
The aim of this whole project is to create civic pride. It's unlikely that anyone can do it better than architects. Historically, when you go to those wonderful Greek cities or whatever it may be, that's architecture. It wasn't designed by accountants, nor was it designed by lawyers, or it basically was designed very much architects translating the needs of the day.
Soyez assurés que mes décisions auront